All right, we are back with another episode of Long Time Good Time. This is my co-host,
Yo, yo, yo. I'm Abrisha and I am the long time, been married 16 years.
and I'm Terry, the Good Time, chronically single, as they say. All right, so we've been talking about a lot of pop culture stuff, but we're gonna get into some relationship stuff in these segments. And we're gonna start it off. Let's go with interracial relationships. We we get into the nitty gritty and the good stuff this episode. So interracial
That's okay, why
relationship,
not?
yeah, is actually I think this is a topic that is more on the back burner than it used to be. It was very
It's so prominent now. Yeah.
it was very front center before, but now stuff is very much more men versus women and all that, finance stuff. So
Yeah.
but yeah, this used to be a big thing growing up, I think, through high
It
school.
was a huge topic, yeah, when we were in high school. So that would have been '05 to '09. Like it was a huge thing, a huge
And,
conversation.
and even prior to that, like, you grew up with we grew up as 90s kids with Jungle Fever, the Spike
Mm-hmm.
Lee movie, and everybody talked about that and
That's
all
true.
those conversations. And
But I
so,
think it got big again when we were in high school because there was a lot of noting of like these ambiguous families and commercials, and it kind of rewired the conversation up again.
I feel like that
I don't
started
know if you
happening
remember, but like
more.
back then they always had like the ambiguous, light skinned woman with curly hair. She was mixed or black or whatever. You
Oh
just have to
yeah.
all these ambiguous looking black people being the black representation in the commercials, and that kind of like brought back the conversation about interracial dating and all that stuff pretty heavy. I think was the
That was
actual lead-in for that.
one era of time, but I'm
Hmm.
thinking more so. I feel like it was a little after college, like 2015 forward, where they really was like very much purposefully doing the uh black male white woman. Like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
kids might have been ambiguous, but the parents were
yeah.
very
The parents
one
switched by
thing and one
then.
thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that became another conversation. But anyway, so interracial relationships, just in general, what do you stand on them?
I remember doing like um a picture like a report on the Loving Story. That's like when America like finally legalized interracial dating. There was a
Hmm.
couple that petitioned to be able to marry the Loving family. Um, Ironic, have the name Loving. But
Hmm.
my thoughts on it was always that I never really gave a damn. A lot of my crushes when I was growing up and stuff like that were across the board. I never had like a race-based preference. So I never really had a beef with it. I didn't start really gearing into the conversation until it started to put the microscope on how Black people date interracially specifically, and
Hmm.
how a lot of Black women felt embarrassed because men and other ethnicities, when they dated outside of their race, they were just dating to just because that's who they liked. And we had the embarrassment of a certain percentage of Black men who were dating outside of their race because it was a kind of self-hatred or projection of like their lackluster relationships with the women in there that like may have raised them or something like that. Some trauma-based
Yeah.
dating, and their reason for dating that person wasn't because they liked them per se. I mean, they liked them, of course, they're dating, but but it was like, well, why do you prefer her? Well, Black women. It was always like a laundry list about the Black women. It's like, well, that shouldn't be your reason for dating someone else outside your, race.
Yeah.
It should be about the person. So I always thought that that conversation was interesting. That we specifically as Black folks had to clue in on our men. I think it was like a eye opening for Black women. One, recognizing how much trauma black men have with black women, specifically like mother figures or big mama
Mhm.
figures who kind of laid out their preferences. And then also um, I think I've mentioned this in prior of our podcast. Black men not understanding that we as black women are our frowns sometimes are not because we don't like interracial dating. It's because we share bathroom spaces with these women and we hear them outside of your presence, and we
Mhm.
hear some of the distasteful things that they say about our brothers who are happily dating them. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there's some back end conversations that a lot of black men who don't hear. And so it breeds this jealousy, but we're like, nah, brother, that, she really don't, you know what I'm saying? She really don't
Yeah.
fuck with you like that. Because if she did, black folks, we love everybody. We'll give you a nickname, invite you into the family and stuff like that. But that whole conversation of that dynamic of white women wanting to get back at their families, like, that conversation of black men and white women kind of, you know, teaming up to basically get back at the populations that hurt them. So, and that's not all the cases. Obviously, I know very many relationships between black men and white women who are very genuine and love each other down and will stand 10 toes for each other. But those conversations were quite interesting. And I think that's when I finally entered the conversation, because I was like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah. For me, so I've gone through pretty much 3 phases with interracial dating. I think starting out, it was very much the colorblind phase of, at least the way I was raised. Like, people are people, you love who you love. Can't we all just get along? and then at some point, I want to say roughly after college, so early 20s, I really got into the no, we should all be doing interracial dating, because I had this idea of like, this is one of the few ways that we're actually going to get to some common ground of like people understanding each other, by having those people in their family and families combining and intertwining. And this is how we fight racism. And then currently, I moved from that to, I wouldn't say I'm against interracial dating, but I'm much more intentional and critical. And I'll talk more about that. So that's kind of my journey
Yeah.
with interracial dating.
I want to speak on that second point, because I think we thought that too. There's many people who thought that if, we're marrying each other and we're entering each other's families, but the amount of trauma.
Well, yeah, we'll circle back to that.
I
So
was like, woo.
the first thing I want to start off with, though, is, do you think there are differences? And if they are, what are some of the differences in an interracial relationship versus a same race relationship?
Oh, for sure.
Like,
There
as a
is.
partner.
What do you mean? Yeah, I think that
Oh,
there is a
sorry, you
difference,
froze for a little
because you
bit.
have to think culturally how people are raised. Oh, did I?
No, you back. I can hear
You
you now.
have to. Okay. Um, I think that there's definitely a difference in the sense that culturally, each group of people, racially, ethnically, and nationality-wise, are raised with different standards for what a relationship should look like, and what you should be doing, and like what your participation
Right.
role looks like in a relationship. There is cultural nuances to that, of like what's allowed, not allowed, blah 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 blah, or what's the standard, who does what, blah, 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 whatever it is. But there are cultural and undertones to it. So I think that although it's not impossible, it's definitely a factor in interracial couples having to figure out culturally their differences, and what they're going to how they're going to define their relationship with these two cultures kind of mixed in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think there is definitely a difference.
I think, and then on top of that, especially once you start getting towards the point of the relationship where you're thinking about becoming a family and or
Mm-hmm.
starting a family and all that. Those is that is where I think a lot of those cultural aspects really come into heavy, because then you got to consider, how are you going to raise children, how you going to
Mm-hmm.
have your home together, like what parts of your culture are we going to embrace and continue? What parts that we might not adopt as much, or what parts do we have issues with and everything? So, as we've
Yeah.
said before, to me, if you grown and you not having conversations with anybody when you start dating about like what your philosophical and foundational values are, you already
Red
missing the boat.
flag. Yeah.
You already missing the boat. But when you
Yeah.
get in a
Agreed.
racial relationship, now that stacks on top another layer of communication, or figuring out communication, because you need to understand, again, now it's not just foundational values, but now it's cultural, actual practices that you got to figure out.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Yeah.
And so now getting to the part that we was kind of talking about, at least for me, where I stand at now is, I'm not against interracial dating, but I feel that you have to be very intentional when you are getting into an interracial relationship. And
Agreed.
as
Yeah.
much as, like, when we were younger, maybe it's because we were younger, again, I felt like, I kind of feel like some people feel like, oh, we just love each other, so it's cool. Like, it's not a movie. It's not enough. Like, a relationship is not a feeling, it's work.
Talk about it. Talk about
It's
it.
So it's not enough to just want to be around each other. It's not enough to be able to be around each other for long periods of time. It's, what does this meshing look like? So I just feel that if you're stepping into an interracial relationship, you need to be able to accept that person's culture as well, and not only not tolerate it, but you need to be able to integrate with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not a
Because
you
if you
go,
don't do the
yeah.
integration, it goes into my point earlier about when you start talking about um, the trauma that can be built within your children and how one side of the family may act with that child versus another side, or
Right.
what's language is used in front of your children versus it's a lot of things that if you don't properly do it can lead to some detriment for the family.
And it's just like, if you love and respect that person, you should respect their culture and,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that they're bringing to the table. No different than you understanding their hobbies and stuff. But to a more extent, it's not something you could be like, okay, you go over there and be Muslim and come back when you're done. Like, no, like, you need to understand what that person's doing, why they do it, what they believe. And even if you don't agree, you can have those conversations, but you don't get to opt out of their culture if you in a relationship with
Exactly.
them.
And also, you you have to be willing to stand up for it because
Mm-hmm.
not everybody in your family may not agree with what y'all got going on. So are you strong enough to stand up for that spouse when Meemaw, 1940 Meemaw ain't agreeing with what y'all got going on?
Right.
Uh, do you have the guts to protect your partner when they may be under attack by somebody in your family who doesn't agree with something of their cultural that comes within their culture practices and stuff like that? Like, my ideologies for this is not even just for inner racial couples. I'm in a
Yeah.
inner ethnic couple. We come from two different nationalities, two different ethnicity. Well, not ethnicities, but like in a sense of like we're basically what's the word I'm looking for?
You got two different
Intercultural. Yeah,
nationalities. Yeah.
intercultural relationships. So we're both black racially, but culturally we're from two different cultures. And I had to consider all of the same things. You know, what languages is going to be used. We have similar religions, but kind of two different versions of it. Like, is our child going to go to this church or that church? You know, a lot of Americans, even down to some minute stuff. Like, a lot of my husband's from Ethiopia. A lot of them are very petite people, and here I come thick. Oh, she low. I had to get used to people right in my face calling me fat.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You know what I'm saying? But just because for them, like, this is an odd thing. It's not as common as it is here in America, where we're a little bit thicker, or even from where we be from culturally. If you think in African diaspora, most West Africans are built like us as well. So if I were to marry a West African man, my size look like everybody else where they're from. But for this version of African, they're like, you're fat. You're like, damn, okay, nice to meet you for the first time. Jesus. But even down to that's what I mean, like, even when it comes down to like how people will refer to your partner, how they talk to your partner. Or I have many friends who are in interracial relationships, and it's even just your family intermingling and trying to control how they ask their curious questions, because sometimes it could be a little microaggressive. Oh, right. Look at your hair, you know, and they just go stick their fingers in it. Right. You know, in our culture, you don't just stick your hands in nobody's hair. You know what I'm saying? But in theirs, they might. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, how do you train up even your family to integrate this person into the family as well, with peace and love? And even if it is just honest curiosity, because they're just trying to make that person comfortable and learn more about them too, how to do it in a proper way. You know, there's so much to consider, and there's so much work that goes into it. And I think that there's a lot of interracial couples who don't do that work, i.e. why we see these massive blow-ups between these types of couples sometimes, that just the lack of understanding and communication, and the not feeling protected or feeling ostracized, or, you know, attacked in whatever way, you know, that may have manifested. But there's a lot of work that goes into that.
And to your point earlier, like, I think as one side of the partnership, you have to be an ally to that community, to your point earlier, like, and a true ally, like, if you actually do the work to understand what an ally is, where that in spaces where they're not represented, you are standing up for them and everything, not as a representative. You're not speaking as a expert of the culture, but you are being an ally to that person. It'd be no different if you are dating a trans person and was like, well, I'm not a trans ally. What? Like, what are you talking about? So yeah. And then the other side of that, the other partner, like you said, has to be an advocate for you within the family, because the family has their culture, they have their, you know, way they go about life, and you have to be able to say, no, Abrisha isn't from that, like, to remind them. And you have to speak up. And if you're not a person that is not you're non-confrontational, you're not going to be able to go against the family or whatever, you need to consider that when you get into an interracial relationship.
Yeah, because on both sides, each partner wants to feel protected. And that's not like this is not a man and woman thing, like your husband having to protect them. No, this is on both sides. Yeah. Your partner wants to feel protected, especially when it comes to your family interacting with you as a couple and their family interaction with you as a couple. And how many fights do we see where there's even just regular relationships, over-involved mother-in-law or over-involved family, and it's ruining a full relationship because maybe this person's not willing to stand up to their family or their opinions, you know, that they're, you know, constantly scolding what you got going on. If you are a person who's not willing to speak up or weak about, you know, and people like to do that lazy thing. Oh, it's I respect blah 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 blah. Yeah, I just don't want to cause any trouble or issues. Then don't bring nobody else into that. Right. Don't bring nobody else into it.
you have to consider how you like. Obviously, there's so many jokes and movies and TVs about family mean family. Yes, it's not gonna be
Mm-hmm.
perfect, but you have to. And I'm not
My
saying you
favorite,
don't.
yeah.
I'm not saying you don't get to be in a racial relationship if you don't got a backbone, but you need to consider the type of partner you have, and those conversations need to be had because, if for whatever it is, hey, I can't talk to my grandma. I can't do it. She's gonna do this. At least I'm preparing. Like, and if your partner's like, that's a line I can't handle, or I'm gonna have to disrespect grandma, or whatever. Y'all have to figure that out. And sometimes the answer is
Exactly.
no. Sometimes the answer is no, and people don't like that, especially with feelings and they like each other. But sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
answer is no, or maybe you need to hold off on the family thing until y'all are more secure in what y'all have, because
Yeah.
again, it's just the extra layer because it's family, it's cultural, and it's your roots. So it's going to be more involved and personal than like talking about your favorite sport or your hobbies that you like to do. So it's not the typical, hey, we're dating, we got to figure out, you like going to the club, I want to stay in and read. No, this is deeper than that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just the extra layer that needs to be considered when you get in this, because I think I'm not a Dr. Umar person, but I think why that conversation gets so deep all the time is for what you was talking about earlier, like the bathroom conversations, which I did not know where you was going when you said bathroom at first, but
I
but
mean, yeah, there is just
no, I
you
know what you
know,
mean now, but
yeah,
I
there's people, there's women's business, there's men business. There's much that you guys know about how y'all refer to us, and there's much that we know about how, women prefer to men. And
it's
yeah, we be feeling we be feeling bad,
but that's
you
where I
know?
think that conversation really at least stuck with some people, because we've seen situations, or we know people, particularly where it's like somebody non-black with somebody black, where they aren't really interested or invested in your culture.
Mm-hmm.
They, they,
There's a
they
lot, and then don't let's talk about the fetishization too. There's a lot of
right.
fetish stuff too.
So they might like you, or they might like the aesthetic, but they don't really care to be an ally to your culture. Like you
Exactly.
said,
Yeah.
people where it's working. I know people too, and usually those people, again, not stepping in front of their partner to talk as the expert, but they do add to the conversation, as in, yeah, I know this and this happened, because you can tell they've studied, they learned from each other, so that
Right.
they know some of the stuff that we know, because you're in it. You're in
Yeah.
this. If you're going to be with this person, you're in it. And especially once we're talking about marriage and family and stuff. So I think that Umar stuff and all that gets steamed because we see so many people that get in these relationships for the wrong reason, have no real interest in your
Right.
culture
And
outside of you.
unfortunately, we get into those conversations because a lot of the time the peaceful couples who really just genuinely love each other are quiet, quiet couples. It's always the people who in some shit that's loud. You know what I'm saying? Who's just on the forefront, just loud and wrong. And that's just the case. The people who have those traumas and stuff like that, they're very boisterous, and they, because I mean, like I said, it's trauma. Look at me. I want people to see, you know, I got my white bunny. I want to see somebody. I got my black king. I got the BBC. I got the whatever. These bitches is
Mm,
jealous. I got whatever it is. There is so much behind that, and I think just because it's not like it's a common thing, but it's just that they're so loud about being wrong. And so
yeah.
obviously people are going to be like, all right, hold on, let's just address this real quick because this is just too much. So that's why I think it's a popular conversation. Do I think it's like the most common thing between interracial couples? No, but we've seen enough loud and wrong online or in person that the conversation is going to keep coming up.
Yeah, and like you said, we all seen people that on the fetish train and all that. And I tell you where stuff really start to
Oh yeah.
turn for me, is after college.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was back, so we're in Chicago, but we're from Chicagoland area. So I'm back in Chicago, but I'm in Indiana a lot. For those that don't know, Chicago's right next to Indiana. So I'm in Indiana a lot. I see people from high school, whatever, whatever. And I started to see the trend in real life. This is before May. I think this was no. Well, I guess Kim Kardashian always been with black men, but this before she started having kids with black
Mm-hmm.
men. But it was around that time I started seeing this in real life. A lot of these like Northwest Indiana is what it was. Like, I guess like blue collar girls, 9 to 5, white girls, whatever you want to call it, community college white girls, whatever. I start to see a lot of them not only having kids with black dudes, but wanting
Mm-hmm.
to have kids with black dudes. So I had a friend from high school. He had a kid with this girl from Indiana, like in high school, or like right around the end of high school. So they was already together, but I started hanging out with them more once I got back. And so
Yeah.
once I started being around her friends and the way they would talk, I started to notice like they really wanted a mixed kid. And like
Yeah,
you
there
was
was
you
a
was
deep fetishization of it, a
and
deep
you said
fetishization for it. And I mean, we know how many people live and die by them Cosmopolitan magazines. So whatever their favorite celebrity was doing, they were willing to take the
well,
risk to hop on the bandwagon as well.
that's what I brought
Like,
Kardashian up for because
hmm
they made that fetish cool in my opinion. Like she made a lot of things cool that problematic, but like the
but it's a real thing.
that's what the MO of that family started to be.
Exactly. And then that also goes into my other conversation that I just mentioned, where I talk about the traumas that come up. Because what happens when you want the curly haired, blue eyed mixed baby and you get the dark skinned 4B haired baby and you don't know how to comb it, and now your baby just walking around with an afro and you got a mostly black biracial baby, and now it don't look like the one you was trying to get with the fetish. There are so many conversations that
That
goes into this, and
right.
that's another one of those conversations that people just don't hear, because we got to hear these white women at these beauty salons, because I don't know what the fuck to do with it. Her hair, yeah, there's so much that our black men don't know, that we hear their spouses in these relationships that they don't know. They're frustrated, but they don't know how microaggressive it is. They don't know how their daughters are reading it and hearing it. You're hearing your mom refer to your hair as unmanageable and ugly, and I can't get it
Exactly.
to sit right. And they're just sitting in the beauty salon all cowered up because their white mom has had it and can't get her style of combs through it, which is a little different from what we use.
Hmm.
And there's so much that goes into all of that. And but I had one friend, and I remember he asked me, I ain't gonna say nobody's name, but he asked me about
Yeah,
his
don't do
girl.
that.
He asked me about his girl, what I thought of her, and I'm like, I told him flat out, I'm like, hey bro, I hate to say it, but no, you know what I'm saying? And he was a
Yeah.
little upset. He took it on the chin. He like, get up mad at me, or, cuss me out, or, say I was just, he didn't do none of that. It hurt his feelings a little bit, but he took it on the chin. But down the line, just a couple of months, everything I said, because I told him, I said, she feels a little fetishy, bro. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everything I said was true. And they got into some deep, little arguments. And of course, she was so happy to call him every N word out of it, that she could pull.
Yeah.
And it took him by surprise, but not me, because like I said, we just as women can kind of read the room. Had another co-worker in that same group. His girl, ride or die. You see what I'm saying? And they're married now. So it was never about me being against nobody, but walk like a duck, talk like a duck. It's a duck. I had to tell my boy, she's kind of a little bit of fetishy. I don't know, bro. You just might have to watch that. Oh no, I
Yeah.
think she could. I think she could. live your life, live and get your lessons. You know what I'm saying? You asked my opinion, I told you what I saw. You know what I'm saying? But
those are things you gotta be mindful of. And I know it's already a lot, that you got to do, but I guess that's my point is, again, like when you get into these relationships, it is an extra level and layer of thought process and mindfulness that you need to have, because when you get into a relationship, obviously there's a lot of talk about figuring out your own insecurities, figuring out your own baggage and conflict resolution, your trauma and all that. True. Now with interracial, you got to bring in your own implicit bias. You got to start really thinking through and be honest with yourself before you even be honest with your partner about those things. And if you never have those, I can't be like, okay, I'm dating this, whatever. I'm dating this Chinese girl. She down for black people because she with me. No, that might not be the case. Like you said, it might be a fetish. It might be an aesthetic. She might like you, but does she like your culture?
Yeah.
And so, not even like, but is she willing to understand what? Or
are she down for or is he or she down for the protection of your community as people? How many times do we see people who date internationally and then they vote against their own spouses' interests?
Exactly. You gotta
that would protect their spouse's community. You know what I'm saying? You have to really consider all that stuff.
You gotta be an ally and an advocate to each other. It's a two-way thing, because again, like even if I feel like, okay, you understand and we've had these conversations and I feel good about us, when we go to that Chinese house, you can't be letting them call me all types. Like you
hear me?
You have to stand up.
Just know I've been on Google and I found out all the cuss words, and if I hear any of them, your grandma wig getting split.
So, right. Well, yeah, I ain't got no problem doing my own confrontation. I don't need you, but you want to be as partners protected. So there's a lot of layers to that. So today I fall in between that idea of not real. I hate to say Dr. Umar, but I fall between that idea of being
the ideology of the like nuclear family, culturally nuclear families. Yeah.
Well,
that's his ideology. He's all about the black nuclear family, and there's many people who are about specifically stay within your culture. There's
ain't nothing wrong with that view. And there's a real conversation. Like I said, there's merit to some parts of his conversation about what they've done to break up the nuclear black family, American black family. But at the end of the day, it has to be intentional. That's just kind of where I fall. Like if I ever come across somebody that's talking like and dating is one thing, but again, we're talking marriage, family, and I ever come across a friend or whoever that's talking about seriously considering marriage or having kids, I'm like, you have to be intentional. I need you to understand that no matter what you do, and I know we keep using black and white, but whatever, I don't even care. Let's say Latino.
We're just saying, it's the baseline. It's the most common. It's the most common interracial pairing. I'm gonna stick with
white. Yeah. I'm gonna stick with white specifically, European or otherwise, because that's a place of privilege, and we're talking about intersectionality. And so,
it's a fact. Yeah.
I have to tell you, if no matter what you do, you're never going to walk this world as black, but your child is. And so even if for whatever reason you don't agree with everything and you don't, whatever, you have an obligation to prepare that child to walk this world as a black individual, because that's what the world is going to receive them as. And again, for whatever reason you got into the relationship, for whatever reason you like the person, I don't care. You have to understand, you don't get to sit that one out, because you're going to have no different than teaching you, making sure your kid know how to read, or making sure your kid understands stranger danger. Like, we
You
have
have to
those
have those conversations of
conversations,
that your child is going to be viewed in a different light than you.
and if you don't, you setting them up for peer failure.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Now, when it's two people of color, because I was gonna say a Latino and black, but we understand enough. Like, okay, it's gonna be difference
Yeah,
in
when
culture,
you
but we
have
understand that talk. We understand. That's why I
mhm,
kept it white, because white, you have the privilege that we don't, and that you don't understand a lot of the times.
the conversations,
And
yeah, behind that.
and
But you want to
depending on
know
where
the
you
crazy
live,
thing? I oh, go ahead.
no, I
You
was just
finish
gonna
it,
say,
Ken.
depending on where you live, like, because we're talking very America, but if you live somewhere else, the privilege might be on somebody,
Else's
different.
side, yeah.
So,
Hmm.
and so then you gotta have, whatever the dynamics of where you live in are. So, but in America, white is supreme, as
Hmm.
we know now. So you got to get people ready for whatever the systems that they're going into. Whether you feel like, if you, even if you not feel strongly about it, you need to learn, and you need to get them prepared. So that's what I was gonna say. But and that's just something that people have to consider when you getting into those things, because that
It's
is
true.
now, as a good parent, that's your obligation.
Exactly. What I was going to say earlier that I got clued into and I just never thought about because I'm on the one of the end of the spectrum of blackness. I ain't the darkest, but I'm dark. I'm a dark-skinned black woman. So there's just some plights that you don't even understand within your own on your own side. My best friend has
Mm-hmm.
albinism. And with her, I had to learn about her dating experiences and how even within the same culture, in the same, as Black Americans, how she has to kind of guard herself from people who are like, I I prefer white women, but to appease my family, I'm going to marry a black woman that's white presenting,
Right.
So we go back to that conversation of fetishes or still getting your having almost like it's like having your cake and eating it too. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not really down for my sisters, but I'm gonna get a white passing sister or like a very, very, very fair skinned black woman or an albino black woman, and I'm kind of getting my fix of having, feeding my white
Yeah.
fetish, but also appeasing my family that this is someone from our culture. Like, oh no, she's not different. She's black too. And
Right.
it never even dawned on me, to have to,
Mm-hmm.
as, light-skinned black women, fair-skinned, I would say, because light's a little bit different, but fair-skinned black women or black women with albinism, having to ward that off too, even within their own culture, like people trying to just date them as one a fetish or to
Yeah.
appease everybody, but using them as a stepping stone to do that. And I'm like,
Yeah. The
that's
colorism runs deep.
vile. You know what I'm saying? Like, I yeah, there's so much to this conversation.
Yeah.
And like as we kept
Yeah.
saying, it's all about communication. It's all about, and this is with any relationship, you should be a person who's willing to protect and understand your partner and their full capacity in every part of them. And if you're not going to be that type of partner, then just be single and mingle, but don't date people if you can't stand up for your partner though. Yeah.
And so I was gonna ask you about kind of not racism, but like microaggressions or whatever. Like, what
Yeah.
would you do in this situation? But I think that segues actually to our next conversation, argument, dealing with arguments in
Hmm.
relationships, which again, we going right into the meat of things. So that's because that's a big one.